Alright, here we go. Let's start up the truck again. Okay, so it's at 1,000 RPM. Shaky. Now it's at 2,000 RPM. For, 1,800. Let's put it in gear. A little shaky. Give it a little bit of throttle. I mean, just a touch of throttle. We'll put it in park. Give it a touch of throttle. See, the RPMs don't come down until you put it in gear and put it back in park. And now it's kind of in control. Now let's rev it. And one more blip. Okay. One more blip. I mean, I'm just barely touching the accelerator like this. See, it hangs and then comes back. Okay, back to 2,000. Put in gear. Put it back in park. And shut her down. So we have 6 pages of captures. Very cool. Alright, so let's look at the data again. So pay attention to the orange and the black channels. So first we start it up, and it's kind of running lumpy at about 1,000 RPM. And you can see the duty cycle is, that's why it's lumpy, because the computer for some reason is going rare, 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 and the RPMs are going up and down. Next page, give it a little throttle blip in park, and we're super smooth at about 1,800 RPM, 1,900 RPM. And the duty cycle is exactly at 33%, maybe 35%. Okay, nice and stable. Let me put it in gear right here. What happens? Duty cycle drops a little bit, even though we have more load, and it gets a little more lumpy. Then I power brake it, nice and smooth. Lumpy, lumpy, lumpy. Power brake it some more. Put it back in park. Look at that. RPMs go up, and then we're back to 2,000 RPM. Back in gear. Look at this. Look at the duty cycle. This is why the math channel is key, because you would be looking through these pulses right here, and like, yeah, we do have a really thin pulse, a couple thin pulses, and then back to normal. What is causing this? Solenoid's doing what it should. The PDM is doing exactly what the PCM is asking it to do. Now we put it back in neutral and just give it little tiny, I mean, I'm just touching the accelerator ever so slightly, and look what happens. Look what the PCM is commanding. It's jacking up this pulse width from here to here in no time at all. There's no smooth transition. It's just boom, and then the RPMs go up very quickly. Now let go of the throttle, and it kind of, smoothly drops the duty cycle until the RPMs go to 2,000. Why does it like this, or 1,900? Why does it like that number? Because we can see that it's capable of reducing that duty cycle to less than 35%. But it's like it wants the RPMs to stay in 1900, even though on the scan data, desired idle is whatever, 750 or 800 RPM. So the engine is doing exactly what the PCM is commanding it to. Now the question is, why is the PCM commanding it to do this weird stuff? And here is where it bounced off the rev limiter, and the RPMs reached 4,200 RPM. That's not good for a diesel. Again, it wasn't under load or anything. And then back down to 2,000. And you can see this fuel cut that happened. Fuel cut, fuel cut, fuel cut. That's the rev limiter, so that's working. But why is the PCM commanding such a high duty cycle when it's not supposed to? So right now, I am really leaning towards a problem with this PCM. Not the pump driver module, not the injection pump, which is a common failure. If you take it to the shop, the diesel shop, like, yeah, we'll change your injection pump. Wouldn't fix this truck. I am very sure, based on this data, this is a data-driven diagnosis. So, do we need a new PCM or a new prom chip? Maybe. It's not saying any codes, but it's doing some weird stuff, really weird stuff. So I'll run that by the owner and maybe do a little digging online, see if people have come across this problem. What do we replace in this case? If the brain is messed up, do we replace the memory chip in the brain or the whole brain and transfer the memory chip? Because if it's two items, you want to replace the bad one. I mean, you could replace both, but yeah, so that's where we are with this diagnosis. Pretty interesting stuff. So even if you don't know the system, a little bit of research and an oscilloscope, you can get to the root cause of the problem and see how the system operates. You can learn so much just by looking at waveforms, cause and effect. You know, the math channels in this scenario, I don't use them very often, but in this case, extremely helpful because they let you see real-time RPM, real-time command, percent, duty cycle instead of just little pulses. Alright, so we'll be back. So I got the PCM torn apart here on the bench. Comes apart pretty easy. There's the part number. It's the BPAA prom chip, and the prom chip is located right here. See, BPAA. Did a visual inspection on the board, and there's nothing really noteworthy. No blown caps, no burnt chips. You know, on this side, the this metal looks a little aged. So, but on eBay for like 140 bucks with shipping, you get the exact same engine computer, not reman, original 1995 model. So, if that costs an hour of diagnostics to just buy a computer, because I don't see what else it could be, that'll be a win. So once we get that, we'll plug it in the truck and see what happens. All right, next morning, I want to take one last look at this coolant temp sensor. Is the PCM reporting the correct temperature, especially on a cold start? So I have the sensor unplugged. Let's measure the resistance and compare it to this chart. So right now it should be somewhere in here, about 45 degrees, about 6 kilo ohms on the ohm meter. So let me put my probes in here. 5.95. So the sensor's the resistance is just fine. Let's plug it in, turn the key on, and see what the PCM thinks the temperature is. It should be around 45 degrees. All right, let's see here. So key on. Let's go into data. Coolant 150. That is absolutely wrong. So that's another nail in the coffin for this PCM. I'm feeling better and better about this call. So if it can't read the temperature correctly, it can't control this fuel solenoid correctly, just something internal in the brain is going nuts. So we're waiting for the one to show up from eBay. We'll plug it in, see what the temperature reads. If it's good, hopefully it'll control this fuel solenoid just fine. So to get the coolant temp to read 50 degrees on the Decade box, we have to be at 45,000 ohms, not 6,000 ohms. So we're all the way down here, should be like minus 40. We can keep dialing it up. That's 90,000 ohms. That'll be close to minus 40. It's reading 6. So it's way off. So indeed, at 6 kilo ohms, it's reading 150. At 1,000 ohms, it should be reading 113. It's reading 253. So the temperature calibration is way off based on the manufacturer's data. So PCM is going nuts. Hell yeah, it's real Chevy power. Screw you, Mercedes. Yeah. Let's see if we can drive this thing down to the parking lot. Fucking Bronco. What a beautiful day. Alright, back to the Chevy diesel from eBay land. We have a replacement PCM. So it has the BPAA prom chip, same exact part number. Looks, the pins, I don't know, should we take it apart just to make sure it's good on the inside, or just plug it in? Little green crusties on there maybe. Looks okay inside. I just want to plug it in, hook up the scanner, make sure the coolant temp is good, that it reads appropriately, and we'll try to fire this thing up. Maybe hook up the scope again. Alright, moment of truth. eBay PCM is plugged in. There's the original clearly labeled. So, key on. It's the engine. Automatic. Continue. Codes. Current codes. No codes present. History codes. No codes present. Data stream. Come on, coolant temp. 165. What the heck? That's not good. Let's see, throttle. Does it react to the throttle? TDC offset. Let's see if it even cranks. Oh boy. We need a jump pack. Alright, GOOLOO 4000 battery pack is installed. Well, that wasn't very promising, huh? not the PCM. Look at this, it's already showing coolant 194, 195. Terrible. Any code set? Nope, no codes. Shift solenoid B circuit. Okay. Still same garbage. Unbelievable. I thought we were going to be celebrating taking this thing for a test drive. Not to be. I really don't know what else to say. We'll put the scope back on the injector pump solenoid control, and the and the crank signal to see what the RPMs are doing, and it's acting exactly the same way. What are the chances that both PCMs are failed in the same way? I don't know. Slim to none, but there is a chance. I'm noticing some weird sounds under the hood. What the heck? That didn't sound good. That's with the original computer. Alright, well, let's take some scope captures. Channel A is still the PDM command. I'm just measuring at the PCM for convenience. We got CKP on the green, and then the fuel inject feedback signal from the PDM to the PCM on channel 4. So, I don't know if this thing will crank. I think the batteries are junk. Need a jump pack. Alright, here we go again. I hate doing that to the engine. I really don't want to do that to the engine, and I hope that's not a rod knock developing, because if it is, it's game over. No, obviously I forgot to plug in the ground for my scope. Here we go again. It just sounds so bad. Let's view our math channels. There's the RPM, and then duty cycle. So now it's not even idling at that low P idle, that's gone away. 33%. So this thing is almost running away, isn't it? Then as soon as I touch the throttle, it still boosts it up to 55%. Like, the computer command is still there. Now this is with the eBay computer. I don't understand. Why does this happen? This instant pulse width boost, like, it doubles it. It doubles the pulse width. And then the RPMs go through the roof. But right now, at 33%, it's still idling way too high. Extremely high. Well, let me save this capture. I don't know what other experiments we can do. Can we drive that fuel solenoid with a variable resistor, like a decade box? Guess we could try. Or a test light. I mean, just to get the RPMs down, see if the solenoid can do what it should, and if the problem's in the controls. That's what we're trying to do right now. Is the problem in the controls or the actual outputs, you know, the mechanical pump, solenoid, all that stuff. So we're definitely not done with this truck. I really don't like the engine sound, unfortunately. I think it's the end of the road for this truck. Is that Uncle Rodney knocking? Yeah, I think we're done. We might have to call Eric at I Do Cars to tear this engine apart. I mean, yeah, revving a diesel, redlining it on a cold start like that, not good. And I feel bad about it, but to do the testing you need to start the engine, and if it, you know, runs like that, how do you figure out what's going on? Eventually, I mean, the owner, he said he drove it like this for 2 weeks. And then he's like, it's not really drivable. Well, yeah, if it touched the throttle and revs through the roof for 2 weeks, and then, you know, the testing here, I guess, finished it off. So, it is what it is, I guess. Kind of a sad call to make. In this case, obviously, I wouldn't charge for diagnostics. We didn't get to the root cause of the issue, unfortunately. You know, is it a bad pump? Injection pump? That's a common problem, but how do you prove that? You know, it's like I said, manually controlling that solenoid may or may not work. I don't know if it has to be timed to each cylinder, but the way the engine's running, I really can't do any more testing. And you don't want a runaway diesel. I mean, if this thing starts sucking oil from the crankcase, that would be a big smoke show, and I don't want to do that. Well, it's a sad day for the 95 Chevy dually diesel. Oh, yeah, we're done. So I basically told the owner, your engine is toast. I'm really sorry, but the high RPM spikes, keep in mind he drove it like this for 2 weeks before bringing it here, and then, you know, during the couple times it revved up during testing, that something started knocking really, really badly. And I told him that's the end of the road for this thing. You'll need an engine and a high pressure injection pump. So basically, come pick it up. Very unfortunate scenario. It was parked over there. I'm like, well, at least I'll drive it to where it's easier to pick up. I wanted to get down the lane there. This thing started up, it revved to 2,000, put it in gear, it, like, you know, wanted to do its burnout thing. Engine was knocking like crazy, so I'm like, let's just go for it. Drive down the lane, made it about 100 feet, and then click, engine just stopped. I looked underneath, it's gushing oil and coolant, so a rod looks like it let go, punched a hole in the block. Total carnage. Sad, kind of a sad ending here. I reached out to Eric at I Do Cars, and I told him, Eric, we might have a spicy core engine to tear down for you on your channel there. 6.5 turbo diesel from a 95 Chevy. He's like, yeah, if you can get it to me, that would be amazing. So maybe he and the owner will work something out. But you know, what caused this entire scenario? It wasn't the computer. It seems like in the high pressure pump, that fuel solenoid, it should have some kind of return spring. You know, the solenoid gets activated by that driver module, and if the return spring's broken, then the solenoid will over fuel over rev the engine and apparently just grenade it. I mean, that's how it goes sometimes. Not very often. You bring a car to a shop and then it leaves. Again, I mean, it came on a flatbed, but now it doesn't even like, it's toast. Kind of unfortunate. So that's the end of the Chevy dually. If Eric gets the engine, he'll do a tear down on it. But thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.